I'm Deanna Mason, and this is episode 1 of the Belonging Practice. I'm Deanna Mason, founder of the Needle Mover Effect, where we help church leaders and missional practitioners cultivate what I call radical belonging with those living on the margins of their city. So, in episode 1, I think we should start by defining what radical belonging is, or at least the way that I define it. So, let's just start with radical first. Radical comes from the Latin word radix, meaning root. Okay, so in other words, something is radical when it is rooted and when it reshapes everything that's growing from that root. So, in the context of the needle mover effect, our root will always and forevermore will be God, His holy scriptures, and the ways of Jesus. We want our lives and the ways we live our lives to be rooted in Him and Him alone, and allow Him to reshape us into His image as a result of being rooted in Him. All right, so that's radical. Let's talk a little bit about belonging. When I say belonging, what I'm not talking about is a feeling. I'm not talking about being accepted. I'm not talking about being included somewhere, even though that's where our brains may want to default when we hear that word. I'm actually referencing something that's transcendent, a kingdom identity that is rooted in God, that says, I'm a child of God and it's to Him I belong. All right. But not only do I belong to God, I being Deanna Mason as His daughter, I also belong in His kingdom. And guess what? His kingdom has citizens, which means the citizens of His kingdom belong to Him as well. I'm not the only one that belongs to Him. And if the citizens of His kingdom belong to Him, they belong to me too. And I belong to them. We are fellow heirs together. And this definition is being informed by a passage in Ephesians, which I want to read now. Ephesians 3 1 through 6 says this. This is Paul writing to the church of Ephesus, which is a majority Gentile church. This is the reason that I, Paul, am a prisoner for Jesus Christ, or for Christ Jesus, for the sake of you Gentiles. For surely you have already heard the commission of God's grace that was given to me for you, and how the mystery was made known to me by revelation, as I wrote above in a few words. He's talking about chapters 1 and 2 in his letter. A reading of which will enable you to perceive my understanding of the mystery of Christ. In former generations, this mystery was not made known to humankind, as it has now been revealed to His holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. Now, here's the mystery. That is, the Gentiles have become fellow heirs, members of the same body that the Jews are members of, and sharers in the promise of Christ Jesus through the gospel. So, as we consider this passage, consider Paul's words to the Ephesian church, the Gentile church that is being made known to understand that they belong to God. Radical belonging is not about a feeling, it's an identity given to us by God, rooted in God, that says the children of God belong to Him, and as citizens of God's kingdom, we belong to one another, Jew and Gentile. So before we end this episode, I want to offer a simple practice, not something that I'm asking you to master, just something to pause and notice as we go on this journey together in transformation. Consider this question today. If you stop serving where you're serving right now, stop leading, if you stop doing things exactly right or fixing things, would you still believe you belong to God? And if that feels uncomfortable when you think about it, it's okay. I want you to bring that discomfort and honesty to God in prayer today or this week, and invite Him to begin to anchor you in how He actually sees you before you perform, before you do anything. I just got off the phone today with a friend um, who shared with me a way that I caused her pain. And after the phone call, I just wept in prayer because I don't want to cause my friends pain. But it was hitting a fear of mine that if I don't perform perfectly in this relationship, they will no longer be my friend. I'm scared that they're not going to want to be my friend anymore. And whether or not that ends up being true, which I don't think it will, but even if my friend decides this relationship may not be salvageable, do I believe that my belonging or my identity has been diminished because of my mess up? And these are the things we want to bring in prayer. Like, God, do I actually believe that I have to earn this identity of belonging with you? And kind of see what that uproots and how God is inviting you to anchor in a belonging which he has gifted to his children to receive.